I'm Linda Fox. I'm in the Phocuswire studio at Phocuswright Conference. I'm with Neil Geurin of American Airlines. Welcome, Neil. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Okay, well, let's just start with talking about some of the current trends in corporate travel. So, like, what are you seeing? What are you hearing from your customers? You know, what's holding them back?
Yeah, there's a lot going on right now. I think we've seen a real bounce back in the last couple of years for corporate travel. And we're in a time of, I think, great change in that technology has come so far in the last few years as far as what's possible and what is expected from a customer base. So we're seeing innovation in the online booking tool space pretty significantly at this point, and just more and more transparency coming back to corporate customers so they understand what their options are. There's lots of people competing for their business, which has been great for all of us and has kept kind of the industry moving forward. So it's been a fun year, actually, for corporate business. Obviously, it's been a strange year from the kind of setup of what's happened in the political space and what's impact on the economy in general.
And conflict.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. And that's a big part of this too. But you do see a real move back towards where we were kind of pre-pandemic happening now.
That's good to hear. You know, you mentioned there about customer expectations. Is that putting increased pressure on the industry, do you think?
I think it's putting the right pressure on the industry. Like, we should have been under pressure all along to meet those expectations. I think we were stuck for a very long time in this industry with kind of substandard technology compared to what you could find in the retail space. Yeah. And now the world's kind of come around to the idea that it could be better. There could be better options out there, and we're all competing to go win that business, which in the long run is going to be great for the actual customers who are flying. So
do you think we're kind of accepting now that we have to kind of move on? You know, we can't tread the same path anymore. I know people like Jeff Klee are very fond of saying, you know, it's time to really move on, to tread a different path, to change how we do things. Do you think there's an acceptance now that we will and can do that?
Gosh, I hope so. Yeah. I've been trying to play that game with Jeff for a long time too. You know, I think one of the things I think we get wrong a little bit is this idea that it's a black and white situation. We're moving or we're not moving. We've been moving slowly for a long time. What I think everyone should get their heads wrapped around is there's not an end line, right? We're not going to get to a point and we're going to
constantly
finish.
Innovate. Yeah.
Part of the problem we've had for the last 20 years in the industry is at some point, roughly 20 years ago, we decided we'd done it. We spiked the football and we moved on. Right? If we do that again, that'll be a big mistake for the industry. Yeah. So I think what you're going to see is a slow and steady progression to better technology, specifically booking technology, but also just distribution technology in general. Yeah. And that will lead to better outcomes for customers.
Yeah. Now, we're not going to get into AI too much because the whole conference is on AI. But do you think that, you know, that there's a sense that because of what's happening with AI, that is actually the moment to see, like now is the moment to seize for us to make real progress?
Potentially. You know, I'm a little older, so I remember 1998 and 1999 when the internet was taking off, and we all thought it was going to be the future, and we were right, clearly. But no one really knew what to do with it yet, right? This moment in AI sort of feels similar to that to me, in that we're still kind of muddling through what the options are. We know some things it can do for us that will drive better outcomes. Certainly in the customer service space, there's lots of opportunities. Data analysis, technology, there are lots of opportunities there. Yeah. But I think we've barely scratched the surface of what that can do. You know, we had this moment probably 6 or 7 years ago with blockchain. That was going to be the thing, right? And that hasn't really panned out in a big way yet in the industry. There are examples of where that's worked. But I do think people are open to new ideas again, which will lead to better options for people as we go forward.
I don't personally sense that the cynicism that there was around blockchain, and maybe that was because of cryptocurrency and the things we were seeing at the time. I don't personally feel there's that same kind of cynicism with AI. It feels different. The mood feels different.
Yeah, it does. But we've had these sort of micro innovations over the years, and you know, they haven't necessarily turned into huge change yet. This might be the one, though. I mean, this technology clearly, like I said, it feels to me like internet felt in 1998, which we didn't really know where it was going to go, but we all were very sure it was going to change the world, and everybody was right about that.
Yeah, and I also feel, barriers to entry have come down particularly with AI. Anyway, I promise not to talk about AI.
Okay.
So just kind of, what are you seeing in terms of shifts between managed travel, unmanaged travel, and any other kind of discernible behavioral trends right now?
Yeah, so unmanaged travel is doing very well. Unmanaged travel is such an interesting space because there are hundreds of thousands of small businesses, and just in this country alone, that are flying every day, and very different types of programs than a managed travel program, typically with all kinds of different levels of control or with, understanding of what the options are, or even having options made available to them. What you're seeing now, I think, is new programs coming around that will address those customers. And at American, we've launched Advantage Business, which we have built specifically for unmanaged customers, and we've got lots of options there for them, but we're not alone in that. All of our joint business customers or partners have similar programs. A lot of our competitors have similar programs. In the managed space, I think, again, it's really this online or the booking tool technology that's changing faster than anything else.
Yep.
And so just watching that process play itself out and seeing where that heads, I think is important. But also there is a real desire in both sides for more transparency in the process. What are the options? What am I seeing? What am I not seeing? And how do I get my hands on better content so that I can get better outcomes for my travelers, whether that's savings or just access to the right flights, right hotel rooms, whatever it may be.
Or just really to know what the inventory, from any given airline could actually offer you, where it's open and transparent, like you say. So it's something that needs to happen. Just within distribution generally, where do you sense the corporate world is with NDC? We're more than 10 years on. We talk about NDC at scale. We have talked about NDC for some time, and I know you sort of lived and breathed it for a while. What's your sense of where we are?
Yeah, we are at a point where people are actually using it for the first time and in pretty significant ways. You've got airlines that are launching continuous pricing products. American has it, United has it, others are coming along with it, which unlocks the ability to go get better pricing potentially if you have access to NDC. A lot of the agency community that we work with now is actively exploring real use, not one or two uses and testing, but actual usage. We're starting to see big TMCs moving into the 15, 20, 30% of their bookings coming through NDC now. So we're not in the space we were 5 years ago where it was a theory more than in practice. Now you're actually seeing it in use. And I think the difference is actual content out there that people want their hands on, as well as just I think the agency community should be applauded because they've come a long ways in their technology platforms over the last few years. So that's been good too.
And then, we talk about NDC and for a long time, and I think probably still to a great extent now, it was really just bags and seats.
Yeah.
So what's the next kind of leap? We're beginning to talk about offer and order. Does that then open up more inventory? How quickly?
Yeah, I think that's right. Offer and order is the next innovation here, and just different ways that you can pair different types of content. I mean, the hope, at least in American all along, was that NDC would allow us to bring all the products that we have to bear to any customer that wants them.
Yeah, through any channel, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
If they didn't want access to it, no problem. But if they wanted access to the seat or to a bag or to a bundle of products, how do we make that available to them in their booking tool as opposed to only on our own website where it's been available for a long time? When we were hearing from customers, I'm missing that. As far as what comes next, I think less about what new bell or whistle comes, but more about what is the user experience when you're booking one of these products and services. What if you want to buy it and decide to cancel the seat 3 days later, but you want to keep the rest of the transaction? Well, that's very hard today, but in the future, what's coming is more of an Amazon-like experience where you can go pick and choose the kinds of things that you want to engage with. And as we get there, I think customers will just have better and better experiences as they travel. Is
part of the problem, do you think, that we, in the industry and in technology as we are, we get bogged down in the phrasing and the terminology. We talk about NDC and offer and order and service and delivery, but actually to the customer, that's meaningless. That should be completely behind the scenes.
You are 100% right. these conversations actually probably never should have happened in public, right? No one really cares about the distribution technology.
Right.
They just want to access the right products and services, and they want to be able to service it once they book it.
Yeah.
So, I don't expect anyone to get real excited about the acronyms or any of the actual nuts and bolts of how an API works underneath the hood.
Yeah.
But, if it's working seamlessly in their booking tools, if it's working seamlessly in the apps that they use every day, then that's what people actually want. And that's where we're headed.
And so then do you feel that element will truly begin to fade into the background?
Yeah, I think it already has.
Yeah.
I mean, generally, I don't end up in conversations talking about NDC very much anymore.
Thank goodness.
I don't miss it. But it's because people have really moved on to, I need a very specific thing. How am I going to get it? And they don't really care about the rails that it rolls down, right? It's just a matter of, I need this thing, help me get it. Once I've got it, let's not talk about it anymore.
And don't give me, friction and hassle.
That's right.
And okay. You mentioned data earlier on. How, what's your sense in terms of the industry's readiness? And I'm talking about, is the data in the right place so that you can use it, get meaningful insights out of it, and drive, really good decision as a result? Is that happening now?
I think that's happened for a long time. However, I think in this industry, one of the challenges is there's so much data. It's almost not a situation where we've been missing data. So we have so much that you can dig through it forever and maybe not find the insights that you're really looking for.
Right.
And so that's one of those areas where it seems like AI is going to be very helpful to us.
Sure.
It can go in and do a lot of the analysis that would have taken 50 humans hundreds of hours. We can do that overnight, and we come in the next morning, it's sitting in our inboxes. So I think we've got we've always had the data.
Yeah.
It's just a question of what do you do with it, and how do you make it actionable for people? And the answer to actionable is different for different people. So a corporate travel manager might need very specific information that doesn't match up with what a vice president at a travel agency needs, which doesn't match up with what I need to look at every day to actually run our business effectively. So finding the ways to give people enough control of the data that we have so they can get the cuts that make the most sense for them is one of the things we're really working on now. We're building out portals for all of our corporate and agency customers that have better and better tools to go in and access this data, and not just look at what are the numbers today, but what if I wanted the numbers to be better tomorrow? What are some of the things I could go do using AI tools to go do what if analysis and say, well, if I, flew a little bit more here, or if I gave a little more service there, what's that impact on my discounts and my commissions? So all of that is going to just get more powerful as the tools get better.
And is that about, opening up the data to kind of everyone across the organization? Because, it's not just about de-siloing, is it? It's also about making it accessible to, to revenue management or yield or whoever happens to be that needs it, so that you're all talking to each other and making it, useful.
Well, in our case, for sure. I mean, we work with our revenue management colleagues every single day, and we're all looking at exactly the same data. But I think one of those things about transparency in the industry is we could get to a place where it really doesn't matter. The numbers are the numbers. You don't have to hide from them. You can share them pretty freely and let people make decisions based on what they're seeing. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to talk, just going forward, let's just sort of project a little bit into 2026, because we are almost there. What do you think will be sort of the corporate travel climate? Are you positive broadly? Are you kind of concerned about geopolitical or conflict? Is there anything you see coming over the horizon? What's the general feeling?
Yeah, I think any given year you can be a little concerned about something out of our control that could happen. But we don't particularly feel concerned about that right now. It seems like people have learned to kind of operate in the world that we're in at this point.
Well, we're in travel after all.
Yeah,
so.
That's right. If you're not flexible, you're in the wrong spot. And so I think a lot of the shakeup that happened early last year seems a little less likely, especially in an election year in the U.S. So as we get into that period, I think we see more stability, if not even more growth, as we get into 2026.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.